Second best way is to do what you were going to do anyway and become a martyr and hero to the anti-Trump community. I get that, Deep Throat, but does he become a martyr to the Trump community here? Does he become a martyr to the anti-Trump community here, Jim Ryan? Or does he become yet another whipping boy for Donald Trump? Like, you know what Trump is going to do now is he's going to tout Jim Ryan's resignation and keep Charlottesville in the news even more. Update the headline on screen if you can. New York Times reporting Jim Ryan has resigned. Holy bejeebus. Ginny Who, what do you make of this? Jason Noble, what do you make of this? What is the strategy behind him resigning? The person who sent me this text message, who I very much trust your opinion very much, I will not say who you are because you haven't given me clearance to say who you are. And you understand that I respect anonymity when anonymity is needed. What do you make of this story? What is the strategy behind this? Is it what Deep Throat is saying? He then becomes a martyr for the anti-Trump?
You're saying the strategy for Jim Ryan, his strategy in resigning. I mean, does he really want to become the poster boy for anti-Trump sentiment? Where does he take that?
Right.
Like, does he become what? Does that get him a job somewhere? Is that? I mean. I have a lot of questions.
I ask them. We're doing this literally in real time. This literally happened 4 minutes ago. It's on their website. I'm looking at the headline. Breaking 4 minutes ago.
Do we think he does this because he feels it's in the best interest of UVA to get out of the spotlight? Does he do it because he feels that UVA needs that money and he's the stumbling block to keeping federal money coming into UVA? I mean, that's very altruistic.
Spencer Pushard, Coco's Adventure Factory is taking the place of Big Lots and not Bounce, Play, and Create. But I appreciate that question from Spencer Pushard. Deep Throat, take the counterfactual. Let's say he stays in a job he probably was looking to leave anyway. Then people say Jim Ryan is causing UVA to lose funding. He is making himself more important than the university. You see what he's saying?
He's saying that he's the biggest stumbling block to the federal money, right?
Yeah, that they're saying he's putting himself ahead of the university by not resigning. But Ryan resigning makes him not the poster boy for the anti-Trump movement. It makes him a whipping boy that Trump is now going to tout on the national and global media circuit for the next week and change. Trump is going to leverage the fact that he got Jim Ryan to resign. It's going to keep Charlottesville and UVA in the news. It saved the Board of Visitors. Goodness gracious, did this save the Board of Visitors from doing dirty, dirty work? Somewhere the Jefferson Council is jumping for glee. Deep Throat says, now Jim Ryan leaves. It isn't because he failed or wore out his welcome, but rather he was the victim of Donald Trump. And he put the University of Virginia first by resigning to save the federal funding. I see the argument he's making. Does it make him more hireable by going out? Margie King Collins says, I just got a news alert. This is absolutely unbelievable. Randy O'Neill says, under his watch, fraud, athletes murdered, hospital mismanagement, and that list can grow. The pepper spraying of students,
Yep.
the redacted reports, the anti-Semitism,
Yeah.
the escalated cost of attendance, the bloated payroll.
UVA Health.
I thought at this point, at the end of June, that he was going to survive.
It did seem that way. Like potentially, if he just held on, eventually the pressure would let up.
Unbelievable. The president of Thomas Jefferson's University has just resigned, according to a report broken minutes ago in the New York Times. He has resigned under significant stress and pressure from the Department of Justice, a DOJ effort led by 2 UVA law graduates. Now the Board of Visitors is left finding a replacement for Jim Ryan. Questions I have: will the replacement for Jim Ryan be managed and handled by Glenn Youngkin's appointed Board of Visitors? Will they now bust their ass, Glenn Youngkin's Board of Visitors, to hire Jim Ryan's replacement before a new governor comes in and can change the makeup of the board? You saw what a governor was able to do with getting Bert Ellis fired, with firing Bert Ellis for malfeasance. Basically, governor discretion.
Yep.
And Winsome Earl Sears, I would not say, is favored to win the governor's mansion.
Doesn't seem that way.
The GOP across the board looks really weak this election cycle in the Commonwealth. So if you have a Democrat favored to win the White House, if you have a Democrat favored to win the governor's mansion, and this Democrat favored to win the governor's mansion can basically, at her discretion, appoint board members, especially with the decision like a BOV hiring a president. Does the current BOV push to hire Jim Ryan's replacement because it's a conservative, Youngkin-dominated BOV? And who would that president be? How much a role has Ken Cuccinelli played in this, if any? How much a role does he play in the hire? What's Bert Ellis doing right now? The only thing that Bert Ellis regrets about this entire decision is that he was not at the table making the decision himself and or determining the future of UVA as president. UVA as whoever the UVA picks as president. Mm-hmm. This is a significant day in Charlottesville history.
No doubt.
You do not have presidents of universities as esteemed and as acclaimed as the University of Virginia resigning under this kind of duress and pressure. Has it happened? Yes. Ivy League? Yes. UVA? No.
And this also comes after an outpouring of support from the group Wahoos for UVA.
Deep Throat says, like Randy O'Neill highlighted, all that legitimate failure gets forgotten now, and he departs UVA not a result of his failures anymore, but because Trump, the dictator, was overreaching.
That's a great point.
God, I'm thinking about this right now. Ginny Hu, I hope it's a sign they are actually going to change things at UVA rather than a feel-good measure so people will stop paying attention to what is really happening. That's from Ginny Hu, who's a UVA alum. So this is what he's saying. He's saying that DOJ pressuring Jim Ryan to resign. Jim Ryan, this story breaks yesterday in the New York Times. Mm-hmm. Jim Ryan sleeps on it, talks with his family, and less than 24 hours later chooses to resign. He chooses to resign because now he is the scapegoat of Donald Trump overreach.
Yeah.
And all his transgressions and leadership failures will never be remembered, either with his legacy after he's left this earth, or while he's searching for a new job as president of another education of higher learning.
Yeah.
On his resume, he will say, or he'd be able to point to Trump overreach as opposed to pro-Palestine pepper spraying students, UVA health, white-collar racketeering, 3 murdered football players, despite red flags with the gunman who murdered the football players and injured 2 others, escalating costs of tuition, redacted reports times 2,
Yeah.
was it Morgan Benninger saga with Ziana Bryant and how that was
Right.
mismanaged?
Fumbled.
He does say, Deep Throat says this as well as other viewers and listeners, that he does highlight that he was going to leave soon anyway. God, what a crazy day. This breaks during the show.
Just after
Philip Dow says this in Scottsville. I can't say how happy I am about this. UVA needs to change for the better. Thank you, Trump. Margie King Collins. So I guess athletics isn't the only department falling to hell and back. God damn, this is crazy. This is a historic day in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Does the Board of Visitors hire a new president before the end of the year?
I figure they've got to try.
Oh my God, this is now breaking. Former Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli is considered the leading contender to replace Jim Ryan.
Whoa.
There's a protest planned today at the Rotunda at 3 p.m. Let me understand something.
That is going to create
This
a
is bananas.
firestorm.
Let me understand something. Glenn Youngkin fires Burt Ellis. Glenn Youngkin replaces Burt Ellis with Ken Cuccinelli.
Tries to.
The Democrats refuse to approve his appointment.
Any of his appointments at multiple schools.
Cuccinelli is lingering in Board of Visitors purgatory. And now Cuccinelli is the favorite to be picked by the Board of Visitors, according to media reports, to replace Jim Ryan.
You realize that a majority of
This is the most sinister
staff
backroom dealing.
and students at UVA are going to hate Cuccinelli as UVA president. I don't even, do we even think that he'll be able to get anything done with the staff and students completely against him?
Deep Throat says this. Albert Graves is watching the program. We got 2 TV stations, print and radio, watching us right now. Deep Throat says, come on, Cuccinelli, this is just a shock candidate. So when the Board of Visitors does come up with a non-leftist candidate, everyone will be relieved it's not Ken Cuccinelli. This is gamesmanship, he says.
That's another good point.
What is
We'll
going
see.
on here? What is going on here?
It's nuts.
This town is nuts. Why is there always this nuts? Why is this always crazy stuff happening in this town? Do we not have a ton of conversation for your cocktail party? Conan Owen, if it's up to the all Youngkin BOV to hire the president, Virginia Democrats are going to do the circular firing squad of blame. Conan Owen, the media is reporting that Cuccinelli's the favorite to replace Jim Ryan. There's no way that Cuccinelli, with his politics, would be the guy that the Board of Visitors picks. This guy is blatantly on record as a vehement self-described homosexuality opponent. He's prohibited same-sex marriages. He's vehemently opposed to climate change. He's investigated climate scientists as the Attorney General. I think some Democrats and leftists would want Burt Ellis as president over Ken Cuccinelli.
Oh, 100%.
Georgia Gilmer says, if I didn't know any better, this would be April Fool's Day, in my opinion. This is like Bizarro World from Seinfeld. Albert Graves says, overreach is doing what you are told when you receive federal funding. Albert Graves says, overreach is not doing what you are told when you receive federal funding, not to mention how UVA Hospital has robbed the government and Medicaid patients of millions of dollars. Go woke, you go broke. Bye-bye, Jim Ryan. Lawsuits are coming for you next. And then Albert Graves says, maybe Ken Cuccinelli will lead a change in the woke university. And he says, bye-bye, Jim. Does the Board of Visitors hire a president before Youngkin is out of office? And Ginny Hu says, oh my God, this is our very own soap opera. This is getting so good. Pop the popcorn.
No doubt.
What the hell is going on? Does Jim Ryan get another job as president?
You mean another school?
Yeah. Does this make him more hireable? Being Trump's whipping boy? What's the difference between being Trump's whipping boy or being the martyr for the anti-Trump movement?
I mean, I'm not sure how Trump would continue to treat Ryan as a whipping boy.
You don't think Donald Trump is going to utilize the Jim Ryan resignation to toot his own horn, saying, I caused this, they didn't listen to me, they didn't eradicate DEI, he resigned because of me, I used my power as president and the leverage I have with the federal funding allocator to change one of the most prestigious and prominent universities in our nation.
But what is that worth?
To Trump, a lot.
What's it worth to anyone else?
That's Trump has made his brand on that. He's made his brand on touting that he can control Elon Musk. He's made his brand on bullying Jerome Powell. He's made his brand on calling Joe Biden a geriatric with no mental capabilities. And Kamala Harris is nothing more than a teleprompter reader who used to appear in hip-hop music videos as a background dancer. He's made his brand questioning the integrity of the Clintons. This is what he does. He's a touter.
But what's the touting worth?
news cycle, strengthening his base, ego,
Okay.
flex.
Does that stop Ryan from getting another job?
What stops Ryan from getting another job is if they're
afraid that Trump comes after them.
that, yes, or they dig into Ryan's time at UVA and look beyond the martyrdom.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's now hitting the local media that he's resigned.
I'm not surprised.
According to the New York Times report, Jim Ryan tendered a letter of resignation to the Board of Visitors yesterday,
Wow.
which said Ryan's departure could be effective immediately, but would not happen after August 15th.
What does that mean?
He would resign now, but if they need him to stay, he would not stay beyond August 15th. This is crazy. This is crazy. And we're going on vacation tomorrow. I know, this is like 2 weeks of content. Deep Throat asked the question, does he get to stay on as a professor at UVA if he wants?
Would he want to?
Would he want to? I know he owns a house in Earlysville. Jim does. Yeah, 100% Conan Owen. 100% the BOV gets to appoint the president. 100%. Absolutely the BOV gets to appoint the president. That's why a lot of us are wondering if the BOV is going to appoint the president now before a new governor starts.
Yeah.
Which, if you're the Jefferson Council, you're going to be pushing the BOV and Youngkin to appoint a president as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Another report that Cuccinelli is going to be named president. I'm just reading what I'm finding online. I also don't buy that Cuccinelli is going to be the president of the UVA. It just doesn't make sense that Cuccinelli would be named president.
Would he want that?
If he was named president, if he was going to be named president, why would they have put him on the BOV to replace Burt Ellis?
Maybe they wanted him at the BOV, but they found a different role for him now that now that they've had so much pushback. Still, I can't imagine Cuccinelli getting anything done at UVA. He's going to get stonewalled every step he takes.
100%. And one of Jim Ryan's biggest strengths, in a lot of ways, Jim Ryan's Teflon, his bulletproof vest, was his ability to fundraise. He was an exceptional fundraiser.
Yeah.
And the fundraising he's doing is with one percenters. And one percenters oftentimes, especially one percenters that donate to universities, are extremely liberal.
Yeah.
And one percenters that donate to universities at the kind of clip that Jim Ryan was fundraising would be vehemently opposed to donating any money to Cooch.
100%.
So maybe the play is what he's saying, Deep Throat, that Cooch is a pawn where the actual pick is going to be conservative, but he's not going to be as radically conservative as Cooch. So anyone that comes in that's not as radically conservative as Cooch, the left is going to be like, thank God it's not Cooch. They do what Judah says. They wipe their brow and say, okay, let's go. At least it's not Cooch. What the hell is going on here?
This is nuts.
There's a protest today at the Rotunda at 3 p.m. How many of the people protesting will be UVA administrators and professors? And there's no students.
Yeah.
So the protest today at 3 p.m., is that going to be all UVA professors and administrators? Because the students aren't in town.
Right. I'm sure there are some in town, but
Thank you, Albert Graves. Follow the story. Going on big. Friday edition of the I Love CVille show. Next 2 weeks are going to be a bonanza. Judah Wickhauer, Jerry Miller. If you're just tuning into the program, the New York Times is reporting Jim Ryan has resigned as president of the University of Virginia, ending a term that is checkered with questionable leadership, but without question propped up by some of the most significant fundraising in University of Virginia history. Jim Ryan, the 7th president at the University of Virginia, no longer on Cars Hill. And that's how we close the show before vacation. Thank you kindly for joining us. Judah Wickhauer and Jerry Miller.